Yes. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm Matt
Not so
Connarton,
intellectually,
and,
but, you know.
Yes, and this mumbling man next to me. The
Matt!
Honorable, but unshaven. I don't know if I've ever seen you unshaven, but the Honorable Gary S. Hopper.
Hi, Matt.
Are you doing, what it's, actually, I didn't shave today either. Oh, wow. It's almost like Fate.
Yeah, it is. We're Fate brothers.
It's because we're so macho.
We're fate
We don't need to shave
Mucho.
every day.
We're mucho
fate
macho.
hunting. We're fate hunting.
We're fate hunting.
Fate? Yes. What he said. I don't hunt. I can't kill animals.
Yeah, it's different fate hunting. He's talking about video games.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
See, I don't...
This is video
He
games
does it
talk.
too.
No, I would never. Yes, I do. Okay, so tonight
You're an addict. You're a video game addict,
a
aren't you?
little bit,
I
a little
thought
bit,
so.
just slightly.
Yeah.
So tonight our guests are Sir Damon of Hesse, my grandson.
He has a very regal name,
Unfortunately.
Sir Damon of Hesse.
Sir Damon of Hesse. What?
I was anointed as a knight.
Yes.
Is he the one who beats the crap out of you?
Yeah. Well, he's one of.
Oh,
one
okay.
of.
They both do it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Jeez.
Even my granddaughter is starting to
Really?
smack me around.
Wow.
Yeah,
She
she's
does it
going
to
there.
everybody. She can't think straight.
Yeah, she's,
Wow.
she's
Of course,
well,
when she does it to you, it's the right decision.
correct.
Wow. He
Thank
really is your grandson.
Yes, he is. And almost equally as honorable a guest we have is Senator Bob Clegg. Now,
Almost.
what you were the president of the Senate,
No, I was a majority leader.
majority leader of the Senate, right? Okay, and now you're I forget so many. I forget what the your title is for the gun group. What's the gun group?
The president of Pro Gun New Hampshire.
Pro Gun New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So that's why I actually kind of wanted you on is talk about some of the gun legislation that's gone through because we had Ross Terrio on last week, okay, and he was talking about how Hoyle, what's his name?
J.R. Hull.
J.R. Hole, the representative and also the secretary of Pro Gun New Hampshire.
No, Secretary of New Hampshire Firearms
Oh,
Coalition.
New Hampshire Firearms Coalition. I get it. Jeez.
That's all right.
I get the impression there's a lot of these organizations.
There's too many. Well, there was just Go New Hampshire.
At one time, there was just Go New Hampshire, and then there was a split in the way things were working. And out of that split came New Hampshire Firearms Coalition and Pro Gun New Hampshire.
Right. NHFC was is the one where Dave Wheeler's involved, who I really like personally, but he's the one who's attacked me a few times.
Ah, yes.
And
Called
then-
you a rhino.
And
And
yeah, and then he's attacked. JR actually called Ross Terrio when he's running for state rep, like the weekend before. He had his was that a special election he had or no?
oh, I don't
I think it was a
remember.
special election. Yeah,
Really?
and because Ross had voted against, remember Dan Itz's bill to allow gun manufacturers to manufacture firearms within the state of New Hampshire without any federal oversight.
Oh yeah, I remember the bill. They were trying to entice people to come in, but it was absolutely undoable because the federal government wouldn't have allowed them to sell any guns beyond the borders of the state of New Hampshire, so it wouldn't have brought anybody in.
Right, yeah. Well, the whole idea was basically, the reason I voted for it was not because it was practical, but because it was a, anti-federal government.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was a very practical bill. But anyway,
But
Ross...
if you had voted against it, you would have been attacked for it, too.
Apparently,
right?
because
Yeah.
I guess they attacked Ross or they said they were planning on attacking him because he didn't vote for Dan Itz's bill, even though he's voted for all the other Second Amendment stuff.
I have a question.
Uh-oh.
Well, why is it offensive to be called a rhino? I mean, they're pretty cool, you know?
Well, they're dangerous.
They're dangerous, yes.
Well, you're dangerous.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, Rhino... It's going to be a long show. Anyway, a rhino is is that an acronym? Do they call that?
Yes, it is, yes.
Yeah.
It's an acronym for Republican in name only. Somebody who registers as a Republican, runs as a Republican, then votes like a Democrat. And people use it too often for too many things. Like I voted against right to work, and people call me a rhino after that.
Well,
and it's like one vote out of...
Yeah, but you had the right vote because why should government tell any employer who they can or cannot contract with for labor?
Well, what about H? You forgot the H.
What?
the H in rhino?
There's
like-
no H in political rhinos.
Well,
I love how you told him.
They're missing that.
I love how you told him this shush and then said what? That's awesome.
You gotta keep him on his toes.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not gonna get very far. If just forget about that.
I think he's contributing a lot to the discussion.
Yeah, probably.
We could add an H. We could say headache. Republican headaches in name only. No? Think of an H that we can put in there.
hippo?
That doesn't make any sense.
That would be a size problem.
Yes,
Fit
yes.
with guys like me, but
Hat! How about hat?
Has
Republican heifers.
No, I didn't. I said hat.
hat?
Okay, anyway, so you had Dave Wheeler's group that kind of splintered off, and they've just basically attacked everybody in the Republican Party. There's a lot of people that actually believe in the State House will say, to themselves or quietly because they don't want to incur wrath,
Right.
will say that the Dave Wheeler's group is more anti-gun than an anti-gun group because of the effect of what they do.
well, basically they're saying it now because there's never a gun bill good enough to pass, so they're always on the opposite side. They're always working to kill a bill because it's not perfect. And you know as well as I do, there's no such thing as a perfect bill. There
No.
never will be. There's always good bills and there are better bills. But in politics, you take whatever you can. You take an inch this year and try for another inch next year. And as far as they're concerned, if they don't get the whole mile, then you don't take anything and you start all over again.
And you attack whoever voted against you. I know they attacked, I don't remember what it was for, but they actually booted out Marilinda Garcia a few years ago in an election down in where she is from, Salem or Wyndham?
Salem,
Salem,
would be
okay.
Salem, yeah.
And they ended up with liberals in there because she got booted out because of some vote like that. They believed she was.
It's unfortunate, and it's not Dave Wheeler as much as there was a guy down there, and I think he's still involved, Alan Rice, who is an ass, and nothing's ever good enough for him.
Can you
other than him.
sugarcoat that a little bit?
He's a candy ass.
No, but how do you really feel about him? I feel like you should share your feelings.
I know.
Dave Wheeler's always been the kind of guy, in my opinion, that you could sit down and you can talk with him, and you could share ideas. Alan Rice isn't that kind of a guy, and that's always been a problem. Alan Rice believes he's the only person right. He has a, what do they call that, complex where you think you're God.
Yeah.
And he's always been the one that's pointed fingers. Even J.R. Hole, as much as he can be adamant about his position, I've worked with him on a couple of things politically, and if you sit him down and you talk with him, he can be okay. There's been times when years ago when we had the gun problem where the Democrats took over and they decided you couldn't have a firearm in the LOB,
Right.
and they decided that only the legislators couldn't be armed, but guests like myself could be. I remember testifying on behalf of the bill that O'Brien and Gene Chandler put in that would go to reinstitute your right to carry, especially the women in the State House. And he told me that if I testified in favor of reinstating the rights, that he would make sure I never got elected again.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't go over well with me.
No.
The state trooper broke that up.
Wow, really?
I don't take threats very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just something about me.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think it's the Irish.
I have another question.
Yes.
Wouldn't hand grenade beat rock and paper?
Yeah, that's a
So-
joke. That's a joke. Okay.
I thought the joke was. Oh, whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't
So-
make sense.
Okay. So I was. You fought last 2 terms ago. No, I mean last term we did the stand your ground.
Right.
And I wanted to get your opinion on this. I was in back of his house apartment. I was looking for his little brother to take him to the movies. This is 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I don't know. And I'm back there looking for Scott, and I'm looking up and down the alley, and this group of people goes by. It's over on, near Kelly Street, and it was 2 guys. I think it was 2 girls and a couple little kids. And they're walking down the alley, and I'm looking up and down the alley, just standing there. I'm not sure if I was actually in the alley or in the driveway, which is actually significantly different legally. And they were They walked by, and for whatever, I think the kid must have been on drugs or whatever, but he got the idea that I was staring at his girlfriend or something. And he tweaks. I mean, he tweaks and comes back about, 15 yards away. He comes storming back at me, calling me a pervert and all this other stuff, and just absolutely tweaking. His girlfriend really wasn't that pretty. Okay? It was not, that wasn't the case. He just got it in his head that it was the case.
Sorry if you watch the show.
And so he starts threatening me and yelling at me. So I got my hand in my pocket on my pistol, because I don't know where this is going. Where to stand your ground if he starts hitting me?
Well, yeah, as soon as he threatened your life,
Is that threatening my life, though?
Well, that's a decision you have to make. I mean, you're not going to let some guy punch you in the face and knock you out before you reach for your weapon.
Right.
You're going to make sure he doesn't punch you, especially if you're looking for your kid or you've got your grandchildren with you. So yeah, the old saying though is that, as you know, don't take your gun out unless you intend to use it. So.
No, that's why it was in my pocket. I never.
Yeah,
I
you
never
probably handled that one right.
I didn't even raise my voice.
I have a question though. Now, even without stand your ground, though, even pre-existing that, if you had just drawn your gun and said "get away from me," would that have even been a problem?
Yeah, that would have been a problem because
Really?
Right, until the latest law where brandishing a weapon is no longer a crime. If you pulled your gun prior to the recent change in the law and actually used it to make the guy go away,
Yeah.
that's illegal. He could have called the
Okay.
police
Oh.
and said that person pointed a gun at me.
Oh,
At
wow.
that time,
Okay.
and the reason why we changed it was because we showed people that how ridiculous it was that if I could stop you from doing something by showing you a gun, I could go to jail, but if I pulled my gun and shot you, I was within my rights, and people said, okay.
Okay.
And believe it or not, a lot of the gun stuff is not partisan. It's not Democrat versus Republican. There's a lot of, in fact, there was a couple guys that work for the city of Manchester who said that they've had the occasion to just take it out of their console and had whoever thought that they were going to rob them while they were sitting in their car
Okay.
walk away.
Yeah.
So you were well within your rights to brandish, but
no, I don't. I'm with you. I kind of feel as though until such time that you really believe. I mean, this guy's just yelling. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Okay, so at that point, my life really isn't in danger.
Did he approach you, or did he yell from where he was standing?
No, he approached me. He was
He
like
walked-
he was like 15 yards away, came back about 2 feet away from me.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
screaming at me.
Okay.
But like I said on air last week, I feel that when people are like that, they're more not to demean them, but they're more like dogs.
yeah.
And a dog will react to fear by getting more aggressive. And in situations like that, what I do is try to calm myself and just stay within, don't react emotionally to it.
Right.
Yeah. Not show fear. Yeah.
And it worked out. It was just interesting that if I step back and I'm on her property, now the threshold is I have to believe that he's in the process of committing a felony.
Well, not anymore. Again, if you feel that you can't retreat, number one, I mean, that's a castle doctrine, but if you feel you can't retreat, then you don't have to. And we had that argument during the whole argument over the bill was, yes, maybe you could turn around and run away, but you probably couldn't outrun that guy. And now you would have your back to him.
What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say that you're old and out of shape.
He wasn't trying to say it. He said it.
Actually, he did.
He
Yeah.
just
Do
laid
I
it
have
out
to
there.
sugarcoat that too?
Would you please?
So the problem is that you couldn't realistically turn and run because that guy now has every opportunity to do whatever he wants, and you're not going to see it coming.
Yeah.
So
No, I mean, I think it went well. It was just a curious thing because I went to the Ware cops and they said, well, he has to start hitting. They believed he actually has to start hitting you when you believed your life was threatened before.
you do not have to take a punch because, like I said, why would you let somebody knock you out before you decided to defend yourself?
Right. Exactly.
And you don't know who's on the street. The guys have good people have taken boxing and karate and then have, for some stupid reason, started drugs and became the guy you just saw. They still have the training and the ability.
Mm-hmm.
And why would you allow that to happen?
Right.
Yeah.
So the cop, whoever told you had to wait until he hit you, was wrong.
Yeah, well, he's from, it's a new police chief in Ware. He's just reading the law, trying to interpret it.
Yeah, did he come from another state?
Yeah, Connecticut.
Yeah, well, that's why. Connecticut, Massachusetts, where they don't believe that anybody should.
No, your right to self-defense is to, kiss your butt goodbye.
Right. You call them, and they believe that the ambulances should take care of the rest.
Right.
So he may be interpreting the law the way he wants to,
Yeah.
not necessarily honestly.
We're
but-
finding that with a lot of the chiefs that come from other states. The chiefs that have grown up here and have worked here understand New Hampshire, and the guys that have come from out of state think that their job is to make us defenseless as well.
Interesting.
You know, Connecticut's a great place for crime. If you look at it, the criminal enterprise does very well.
Yeah.
Massachusetts too.
So the politicians must do really well.
They do a lot better than New Hampshire. We only get $100 a year.
Right.
In Connecticut and Massachusetts, they get much more. They can actually live off of what they steal.
Wow.
In fairness, though, don't you also get some tolls reimbursed or something?
Yes.
Yeah. See, so
Free
that's,
tolls.
Free tolls.
and they give you coffee, don't they?
If you can find it, you have to go look. Well, no, up in the majority office or the minority office is usually coffee too.
Oh, that's pretty
there's
fancy.
Coffee, tolls, so it adds
But there
up.
used to be a
And
little
you're
coin box
rarely
there.
pulled over.
And you what?
And you're rarely pulled over.
Well, speak for yourself, there, Sir Damon.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Depends on how you voted on right to work.
Except for my grandfather, he gets pulled over all the time.
No, I don't. Not that often. Less than once a week.
Some guys go through construction sites at 94 miles an hour and don't get pulled over.
Oh, we have a call.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Hi, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Who's this?
My name is Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Tom?
Yes, I have a question. I just got home and from work. I just put the TV on and I've been watching the show. I do have a gun permit, and like you mentioned that somebody, you think you're going to get like attack or punch in the face? Do you have a right to defend yourself with this pistol?
You have a right to defend yourself at all times, whether you have a permit or not. The license to carry that you have is the license to carry concealed. Other than that, if you didn't have a license to carry concealed, you just have to make sure it's carried out in the open.
Yeah, like
Okay.
yeah, in New Hampshire, you can have a 357 on your side walking around the streets. That's perfectly legal.
Right.
It's only when you put your coat over it that becomes a concealed weapon and you need a permit.
Okay. So I do have a permit. Concealed. So
Yeah.
that's the same thing, sir?
Yeah, the same thing. You
that's what I thought.
can you can defend yourself with that at any time, but you have to make sure you're right. That's the main thing. Make sure you're not using it just to scare people.
Yeah.
Brandishing
Yeah,
is
no.
okay, but brandishing is okay, but you still have to make sure that the other party may actually call the police. You may be justified, but you want to make sure you're justified before you do it.
Okay.
Okay?
You answered my question. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
All
you
right,
for
Tom.
calling.
Thank you very much.
Oh, what did I meet? Met somebody that watched the show over in the over near my grandson's house. A guy named Mark. So hi Mark, if you're watching.
Hi, Mark.
What's up?
What's up? What's up? So what else is going now? What's gone on with the other thing? The Dave Wheeler and his band of merry men were fighting you guys against was the bill to.
Yeah, it's Senate Bill 244, and it's a bill to allow people who have had mental health issues to be able to go to court and get their record annulled. What we found out was that if you're a criminal, you can go at any time and you can get your record annulled, and then you no longer have to answer yes on any of the questions. But if you've been someone who's had a nervous breakdown, and let me explain that sometimes people are involuntarily committed for some of the reasons that you would understand. People who have lost a child,
Right.
you're out swimming or boating and the child drowns because you couldn't find. To some people, they can't handle the trauma, so
Right.
they're put away. But they come back and they're fine.
Yeah.
There are things that just happen that people. But what happened was there was an attorney, Penny Dean, who took a case and spent $13,000 or $15,000 of this guy's money to annul his record so he could have his firearms back. And when they got to court, the judge looked at her and said, "Love to help you, but there's no law that allows me to annul his record." Now, if you don't annul the
So if
record,
there's a criminal, in other words, he had robbed a bank.
if he had robbed a bank and done his time, he could have gotten his record annulled. There's certain ways to do that. But because he had had a temporary mental illness, there was nothing he could do.
Wow.
And so he came and he testified, and a very nice man, and said, I had my issues. I have all the mental health community behind me. I'm fine now. I just want my right back. Now, some of the groups were saying that just lie, because in New Hampshire we don't report mental health illness.
Right.
So when you go to buy a gun and it says, have you ever been involuntarily committed, just say no. A mental health issue? No. The problem is that you're going to get caught. And everybody says, oh, you can't get caught. Well, think of this. You live in a neighborhood where everybody's nice to everybody. You have a nervous breakdown, and everybody in the neighborhood pitches in, make sure that, this casserole's coming to your house. You know how it is in the neighborhoods. Well, you don't live in a neighborhood, but
No.
that's the way it is in the city.
My neighbor doesn't hardly visit anymore.
I heard he doesn't like you.
No, he doesn't
You're
like
out in the
me.
woods.
Yeah, my neighbor.
I don't blame him.
But so everybody comes and helps you, and even whether they're liberal or conservative, everybody jumps in and helps. Well, all of a sudden you're doing fine. You go out and you buy a gun and you actually lie. Well, that liberal neighbor who helped you get through that time says, "Hey, wait a minute. He's not supposed to be able to buy a gun." Calls the federal government and says, "I know he's not supposed to have a gun. I know for a fact that this is what happened." And now all of a sudden you've committed a felony. It's a $10,000 fine. So all this guy's wanted to do, and what this bill does, it came out of the Senate fine, is it says that you can go before a judge. You have to bring doctors and what have you, and you have to say, I'm fine. Now, it says in there that the court has to prove you're not fine. And the
Right.
court's the one that said, this is such an important right, that's what we want. We don't want the burden on you, we want the burden on us. So now what the court does is it questions you, questions your doctors, questions your family, makes sure that there's nothing wrong with you, and if you're okay.
Wow, I wouldn't have a chance of doing that.
No, especially if you brought him.
No.
Yeah.
So, but then you would be able to annul your record, you'd be able to go to the gun store and you'd be able to say no. When you went for a job and somebody said, have you ever, no. So you're covered and you're not lying.
Right. Yeah, the idea that you're as the law stands now, you're requiring people to lie to exercise their rights is just...
Well, we recommend to people, and Evan Knappen is an attorney for Pro-Gun New Hampshire, recommends that you never lie.
Right.
Because the consequences are huge. Being a felon's huge. You lose a lot more than just your gun rights at that point. You lose your voting rights. You lose all kinds of things. You can't work for the federal government.
You can end up in jail.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Who the heck wants to work for the federal government? Wait, you mean you can't be a felon and work for the federal government, but there's people in the NSA that are stealing from people all the time, and they're still working for the federal government?
Well, but don't worry, because Obama will make sure you get guns if you're a felon. I don't know what they call the program this time. Fast and Furious probably isn't it. It's probably Slow and Easy.
Slow and easy, yeah. Slow and easy. On the
So,
down low.
but the bill is in the House now, and I went to the executive session, and you have to understand that Pro-Gun New Hampshire, Go New Hampshire, Gun Owners New Hampshire, Gun Owners of America, all joined together and finally said this is a good bill. The only two groups that were against it were New Hampshire Firearms Coalition and Second Amendment Sisters, who said that it's wrong to take a bad bill and make it better. When I was in the legislature for the 14 years I was there,
if you
it
made
was
a bill
fun.
better,
It was fun to take somebody else's bill and make it better.
right.
Especially if it didn't do what they wanted it to do. And in this case, Maggie Hassan, when it got to the House, was so upset, she sent her people out and said that bill has to die because there's nothing in it for me. We said, what do you mean? This is all about people who have had temporary mental health issues, who are fine now, and are regular citizens. Well, no, this is no good unless I can report people's mental health to the federal government. And that's why we could tell, instead of that bill going to criminal justice where it's always gone, it went to judiciary.
When was it exec on?
It was exec yesterday, I believe, or the day before. But it was the only thing I want to see is I want to see a roll call vote on the floor, because it was a bipartisan bill in the House, in the Senate. It passed with both parties. And I want to see whether Republicans believe that people who have had an illness should be punished forever for that illness. So if you get cancer, you're punished forever. I mean, it's not right. And this was about somebody who came in and said, I deserve to be treated like a regular citizen. I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't hurt anybody. I
Right.
had an issue. And we've all had issues that we found to be traumatic. For some people, things just go a little deeper.
Yeah.
Like, having grandchildren that pick on you all the time and stuff like that.
I have those,
Yeah.
but mine are girls. So
Oh.
I just ignore them.
Oh.
Send them off with their grandmother.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I could send them off with my grandmother.
Except that she lives with you, so.
Oh yeah. You wouldn't really be sending them off.
Yeah, I'd be sending them like upstairs mostly.
Yeah.
It's
Whatever.
away,
Watch,
right?
works.
watch
It's
the
away.
news with her. That'd be a terrible punishment.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, please don't do that.
We're gonna make you watch CNN.
So,
He'll know all about that plane though that's missing if he watches CNN.
I already know.
He'll know
about
every
that.
possible detail.
they still
And the
going on with that
UFOs, too.
story?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They're obsessed with it.
That's all that's, what was that, like a month ago?
More than that.
More than a month?
They've been tracking the UFO that took it.
The UFO?
No, you're kidding now.
Well, there are
Oh.
people who believe that. But
Well, I'm sure. I'm sure. And it wouldn't surprise me if CNN was following up on that too.
yes.
That's insane.
Got to chase down
I-
every lead.
Well, I think that the three possibilities is it was hit by a rock,
Mm-hmm.
covered by paper, or had a hand grenade in it.
Ah.
Yeah, I think the latter of those three
So-
is most
Rock,
likely.
rock, paper, hand grenade.
So in other words, terrorism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Terrorists who listen to this show.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, if we're giving them ideas, that's a problem.
That's pretty
That's
bad.
quite bad, yeah.
Yeah.
So what else is happening? So what do you think the chances of that bill going through the House are?
Well, I think it's coming out of Judiciary Committee as an ITL, so I think when it gets to the floor,
That's not good.
If I'm going to guess, next week they'll probably try to table it so that nobody has to go on record as being against people who have had a mental illness.
What is the? Do you know what the vote was in Judiciary?
Well, actually, I think that it was unanimous because I think that one gun group talked to some of the folks on there and said this is a bad bill, so you should kill it. But again, it's an affront to people who get treatment. We're always talking about, one of the questions that was asked in the Senate was, will this bill help people that are coming back from war zones who have issues? Now, not all the issues are what you think they are. Some guys come back and some women come back and they find that their spouse hasn't been totally upfront.
Sure.
And so, they're always fearful that if they go to receive any kind of help, that there's a stigma on them, and suddenly they're going to lose their Second Amendment rights. They just spent a year in a combat zone, and somebody's going to say they're not qualified to handle a weapon.
Right. They just spent a year with the government trusting them with weapons.
and covering our butts. And all of a sudden, we want to do things.
Yeah.
When I was the Senate Majority Leader, the guys coming back from Iraq at the time needed some of that outside help, not PTSD, but some of the outside help. And so at the time, the psychiatrists in New Hampshire set up a free system where guys didn't have to go to the VA hospital, and they could go on the outside and they could just sit with somebody and talk it out. And of course we got in trouble for starting it because some of the guys at the VA were insulted that we wouldn't want to use their doctors, and we're sitting there saying we're trying to help the guys coming home, the men and women coming home. It's not about the war zone, it's about the home zone.
Right.
Yeah, it's not a turf thing.
Yeah, let's not stamp somebody's record that there's a problem.
Yeah.
And we need to do that again, and we need to make sure that there's no stigma to asking for help. Everybody needs it.
So you said you're allowed to take somebody's bill and just change it?
Yep.
Are you allowed to literally completely change it into your own bill?
Absolutely. So if your grandfather had a bill that said that everybody in Ware had no taxes, didn't have to pay taxes, I could take it, leave his name on it, and change it to say everybody in Ware has to pay twice as many taxes. If the bill passes, everybody will look at it and say, I can't believe Representative Hopper charged us double taxes, because they never changed the names on it either.
Or have it be like nothing even close to related to that?
Exactly. You could say that
Nail you as a rhino
Everyone
for that.
in Ware has to drink water.
everybody in Ware has to drink water.
Just change it to that.
Well, everyone should drink water. But
Yeah. It's not
Once,
that bad.
Yeah.
once
I've
a
got some
minute.
right
Once
Or
a
we
minute.
could change it to say that nobody in Ware could ever buy beer.
Oh.
Well, I'd definitely
Okay.
lose my next
Hey, I have a question about. I can never remember what it is. ITL when it comes out.
Inexpedient to legislate.
Okay, so that's kind of a death knell for it when that happens, or
Yeah, it means
Okay.
that it's not worth fixing or studying or doing anything
Oh,
to.
okay, gotcha.
The study committee, especially this time of year in the second term, is death with dignity.
Right.
We call it.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to really study it, and it's an election coming up, so it's dead.
Gotcha.
ITL is kill it, make it dead, and OTP is ought to pass.
Okay.
Right. A lot of times what they do is if it's an issue that they know they're not going to have good luck explaining why they killed it, they'll put it on the table.
Okay.
Yeah, laying it on the table is really I think it's more of a Senate trick, because they do that in the Senate all the time. They just load that table up so they kill everything off at the end of the year.
Right. If you don't take it off the table by a certain period, it requires 2/3 to take it off. Crossover is when the House and the Senate swap bills. Anything that's on the table after crossover needs 2/3 vote in the body to take it off the table.
Okay.
And then if it's still on the table when you end the session,
Yeah.
it can never come off the table. It's done.
Oh,
So-
okay.
Yeah, it's a way of not going on record killing things.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and so when you get home and people say, "What did you do with the bill that would help Grandma buy her wheelchair?" You say, "Oh, they tabled it."
Right.
Yeah, I really wanted to vote
Yeah,
for that.
really.
Yeah.
And then when you go to the crowd that thinks we spend too much money on Grandma, you go, "Hey, we tabled that bill."
Right. Right. You can't lose.
No, that's the whole idea.
That's politics.
That is politics, even
Wow.
in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
I don't like
Oh, yeah.
politics.
You know.
No.
No, the one thing he's learned, he's gone up to judiciary with me a few times.
The one thing I've learned is to not become a state legislator.
Why? It's government by the people. If you don't become a state legislator, somebody else is, and they may not have the same views as you.
Good
They
for
may
them.
think that everybody with blonde hair should work 2 jobs and give half their money to people with black hair.
Then you can just move out of the state.
Really? Maybe they won't let you.
Maybe it's a federal law.
Don't forget
Well,
too.
then
You get $100 a year and some tolls and coffee if you can find it.
Well, then you could just
And
leave the
lobbyists
entire
have-
country.
Lobbyists have free food.
Ooh, yeah.
Only the big ones, like Business and Industry Association.
This guy gets lasagna.
Sometimes.
Sometimes,
That was
yeah.
once. That was like once.
Well, that's what makes it so special. I bet that was some good
it
lasagna.
was very good
Yeah,
lasagna.
see?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good
Well,
lasagna.
do you get tacos?
Hey, so what'd you think? Now we're talking.
Yeah.
I'll vote anyway for tacos.
Sometimes the union comes in and flips hamburgers right outside
that was
on the
really
barbecue with beans.
Yeah.
And then they send 400 people back into this small room after having beans.
it's a big joke. This is the way of their
It
way
wasn't
of-
funny.
Yeah. Hey, Damon told me something that was really interesting. It's kind of off subject, but on the way here, you know how there's been bullying in school ever since I'm sure they've had schools. Kids are pretty brutal to each other.
Wait, I want to say it.
Huh?
I want to say it. I'm the one who told the story to you.
Tell me the story now then.
Okay.
Hey, sit right up to that mic though, because I'm afraid they can't hear you at home.
We were all reading Scholastic News at school, and we were reading about some kid was bullied because he had a peanut allergy. He was being chased around by kids like with peanut butter in their hands,
Ooh.
and like they switched his sandwich into a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and stuff.
What ended up happening? Like, did he didn't eat it, I
No.
hope, right? He knew. Okay.
Yeah, you can,
Wow.
yeah. When you're allergic to that, you smell it pretty quick.
Do you? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He always had to carry an EpiPen just because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty brutal. You can actually kill somebody with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? The difference is in my day, the bullies got beat up when you get sick of them. Today, you can't beat up a bully. You just have to take it. I can remember when my son was in school, there
Unless
was a
it's
bully.
outside of school.
And he finally had enough, and he fought back, and he got thrown out of school for fighting back. And he said,
Wow.
and I went to school and said, you know, for 6 weeks he's been telling you this kid keeps jumping on him, punching him, and everything else. Well, your son's bigger than him. And I said, but my son never fought back until he got fed up.
Yeah.
So, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
I went to Spring Street Junior High School in Nashua, and Mr. Stelianos, if you got caught fighting in the schoolyard, would bring you inside, call an assembly, hand you boxing gloves, string up a small gym area, and you fought. with
Wow.
16-ounce gloves.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and I'll
I
tell
wanna
you, you
do
didn't
that.
want to get caught fighting because 16-ounce gloves. I mean, that's hard work.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. we have another call.
16.
Hi. Welcome to.
That's an awesome fix, though.
Yes. Welcome to Rock Paper Hand Grenades. Who's this?
Hey, it's Dave Grover. How's it going?
David.
Hi, Dave.
Good, Dave. How are you? Welcome.
I'm doing fantastic. Hey, I had a quick question based off of you guys' topic of conversation. Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing to eliminate bullies completely from a school system?
To eliminate them completely? I don't know how you would.
You mean to throw?
Well, I mean, what's going on right now inside of school is bullies are being like, or the whole bullying thing is completely like there's zero tolerance. Like, I mean, I hear your buddy talking about peanuts and people being chased around. If someone was chasing a kid with peanut allergies around, that'd be the same thing as chasing somebody around with a knife. Like that kid should be sent to prison. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, you start throwing all bullies out of school, and then kids don't have to the survival of the fittest. That kind of goes out the window, and then you have these kids that grow up and they never realize there's like a pecking order in real life where you don't bark at bigger dogs because the bigger dogs can bite you. Like that guy's son who's apparently getting bullied by someone smaller than him. That only happens because there's you just can't just punch somebody in the face when they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing because no one's allowed to hit anybody anymore, and bullies are still doing what they're doing. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think? You think that we should just try to eliminate them completely?
Well, I'm just gonna
No survival of the fittest.
throw this out there. I'm not their buddies.
Please do.
So.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't, go ahead.
From my perspective, the survival of the fittest is exactly why you shouldn't throw them out. I think it's time, though, that they allowed kids to fight back. The only way a bully survives is because nobody else attacks him, nobody else hits him. He never feels any pain. And this whole idea that it doesn't work when you give somebody back pain, I'm going to tell you, when I grew up, I stopped hitting my brother when my brother hit me back.
There you go. There you go. Yep. Yep.
Yep. I was taught you never start a fight, but if somebody picks one up with you, you're definitely allowed to hit them back.
Well, you
of
know,
course.
I think
Yeah.
the whole society is becoming so. This is going to get me in trouble. So feminized that we end up with. It's like for every action, there's an opposite and an equal reaction, and the entire society is becoming like that. You look at the case down in Boston. There was a guy took a picture of a girl up her dress.
Oh, upskirt.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
On the tee.
On the tee, and it went to court, and there was no presumption of privacy on the tee, so it was okay for that guy to do that. Now, 20 years ago, if a guy tried to do something like that, her boyfriend would have
But he got
punched.
the crap kicked out of him by
Right.
15 dudes. You don't do that to a lady, and there's probably guys sitting on the tee watching this clown do that, and he got away with it.
Exactly,
Like, called the cops on him, In real life, well, if it was 20 years ago, someone would have just punched the guy in the face and smashed his phone on the ground, and nothing would have happened. The cops would have been like, yeah, you deserved it. Stop being a
Right,
creep.
right.
Yeah,
And they probably would have beat him up, too.
Yep. Exactly. Actually, but you say that, it's like quite a few years ago, I was up, I think it was when Bob was in the Senate and I was in the House. I was talking to an old-time cop from up north, and I was asking him, I said, what is this rash with little kids being abused and stuff like that? I said, I don't remember that growing up.
Right.
And he says, he said, to be honest with you, it's because years ago, if somebody was local cops found out somebody was doing something weird like that, they'd take him out in back of the police station and beat the crap out of him and tell him that if he did it again, he's going to be buried out in back of the police station.
Right.
And it never happened again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now no one's allowed to smack people around.
Everybody's
Sue happy. Sues everybody for everything. Oh, my coffee's too hot. You're like, no kidding. You ordered a hot coffee. Everything. So the whole world's scared to offend somebody or say something. Or
Yeah, I know.
Right.
I know.
whatever. It's like a.
That's why we got
attack on the middle
Bob.
class.
That's why we got Bob on. He's pretty afraid to offend people too. Hey, thank you very much for the
not.
call.
Thanks,
No
David.
problem. Take it easy, guys. Have a great day.
Bye bye.
At all.
I've never been afraid to offend somebody.
I was
Neither
being
am I.
sarcastic.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
I'm offending you on the show right now.
You're offensive, period.
And you're offending people on the show that probably aren't even watching.
Yeah. That's probably why they're not watching, because they were offended the last time they watched.
Or they just didn't watch.
Except the Malaysians.
Except in Malaysia. We got a lot of people watching Malaysia.
We're huge in Malaysia.
Huge.
That's because the people are very small.
Yes, but whatever works. So
That's
what else is
interesting.
going on? We got the gas tax today.
You got the gas tax.
What did you think about that? I know that if I was up there, I still really can't wear shirts, so I didn't go up today. I wish I was there yesterday to vote against the
Scott
ITL.
Brown doesn't wear shirts. Why are you wearing shirts?
Who?
Scott Brown.
I love
Oh,
gas
yeah.
He's
taxes.
the
Good point.
Massachusetts Democrat running for Senate
Right.
and the Republican. He's a rhino.
He's the
There you
rhino.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
Sununu said we're supposed to vote for him because he's
Republican
it's
hat
about winning
in
elections,
name.
not about who.
Well, why don't we just do it the cheap way then and just elect Gene Shaheen? We're getting the same thing and it'll cost us a lot less money.
That's a good point.
Right, yeah.
Or we have Testament, Bob Smith, and Jim Rubens.
Yeah, it's not like Scott Brown's already the nominee.
No, but he's right. If it doesn't matter, it's all about winning. Why don't we just all put our support behind Gene Shaheen? I like that. That's a really
let's
good
go
idea.
back to if Scott Brown can campaign without a shirt, you can go to the State House and just write on your back, "I'm Scott Brown."
You could get like a upper body suit with muscles on it, so you kind of look like Scott Brown.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. My brother's second grade teacher did that for Halloween.
See, if his brother's second grade teacher can do it, you can do it.
I would think.
I'm
Maybe you can borrow the suit.
super masculine
actually-
man.
Oh.
But the thing is, I'm really afraid of the House clerk, so
Oh.
You should be.
I should be.
Pretty
That's
scary
advice to somebody who
man.
knows.
Right.
You talk about the gas tax. It's gonna
Super
hurt New
scary.
Hampshire. It's gonna increase the cost of goods because remember the gas tax is on diesel fuel as well, and because of all of the environmentalists, you can no longer run a diesel as efficient as you used to. We all have to comply with the California standards. So when you add 4 cents to every gallon of gas to a diesel truck, and that's who's delivering all of your food, you're going to see an increase. Whether they like it or not, you're going to see an increase.
Now, how does it compare to, say, Massachusetts?
Well, that I don't know. And if Massachusetts, one of the top selling gas stations in New Hampshire was on the border in Hudson called Hafner's. And when you go in there, it's in my neck of the woods, you would see all kinds of Massachusetts cars filling up. When the gas tax goes in, I'm going to watch to see how that unfolds and see how many people don't bother coming across the line. Remember, when we did it with cigarettes and we lost some of it, the distance people would travel to save the money gets smaller and smaller. On cigarettes, they used to come in, they used to buy 10 cartons of cigarettes, whatever, but they bought beer, they bought sandwiches, they bought newspapers, they bought all kinds of other things while they were here. It wasn't just cigarettes. When they came for gas, they were doing the same thing. They're buying the lottery tickets.
Why don't we go one step further, following that logic? Because I like to think outside the box. Why don't we legalize drink and driving in New Hampshire? So you could come up to New Hampshire, buy all the alcohol you want, and drive around
And you could multitask.
You can only do that on the state liquor stores on the highways. You can't do it on the local level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's a good idea,
And that's
though.
going to
Yes,
get,
yes.
and that's going to get better.
If you want to get baked and come up to New Hampshire and drive around, we let you. Something
Let's
like that.
do it.
That'd be a good slogan. That could be
Well,
our new state slogan.
yes.
You can put that on the license plate.
Some people said let's put
I'm not
let's put the
21.
casino in at Salem
Right.
and make it the only legal place to smoke marijuana in the state of New Hampshire.
Who said that?
And
That sounds
make
like
New
something I'd come up
Hampshire
with.
make New Hampshire the seller of not only the marijuana in the casino,
Right.
but also the Twinkies, the cupcakes,
Ha.
and the chips.
Yes.
That's a lot of tax revenue.
Just on ring dings alone, we could balance a budget.
And you know what? You could cut a deal with the casino and let them keep a little bit more of the money that comes out of the slot machine, because people are going to be sitting in front of the machine just looking at the colors anyway.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Sit there, oh, that's wicked cool. You're supposed to pull a handle. No way, really?
But
That's awesome.
We're in big trouble because if you look at what's happened in the state, you've got the gas tax now, which is going to increase the cost of business. You've got the hospital tax, the Met tax, or bed tax, whatever you want to call it, We knew when we implemented it was unconstitutional, but with a wink and a nod, everybody said okay, because if you look at how the tax was implemented, the state would call for the tax, the federal government would give us an equal amount. So what would happen is the hospitals would wire us the money, and 5 seconds later we would wire the money back because we had the feds money. We didn't need this. So it was a loophole that we played just like every other state. We knew that if it ever ended that we'd have to stop. Well, they didn't stop. Now they're trying to blame Bill O'Brien because Bill O'Brien took $150 million of the $200 million and used it to balance his budget. But I said today to somebody, don't blame Bill O'Brien because this is Maggie Hassan's budget. So if somebody wanted to change that, they could have. But everybody thought that they could bully the hospitals into continuing to give them the money. And the hospitals are saying, I'm not giving you the money. We've decreased the amount of money we're paying them for Medicaid.
Yep.
I
We went
personally think
to
it's
manage Medicaid. They went from 42 cents on the dollar down to 36 cents on the dollar, and a lot of them can't afford this anymore. They're done. So to now say, give me more of your money, well, that's gone. They settled the suit for $30 million on the mental health. Once again, you can't blame that on partisan. It's not Republican, it's not Democrat, because when you had a Republican or a Democratic House, you had a Democratic governor. John Lynch was governor for a long time.
Yep.
And I like John, I like Maggie, but you had them, so it was a matter of expediency. So now we got to face all of this. So how much money are we really missing? How much money are you going to have to try to find? If in fact the hospitals don't send them the money, even as a loan, we're $150 million easily in the hole before the end of this budget. We don't have that much in the rainy day fund.
Right.
On top of that, we've got the expanded Medicaid, which is a $50 to $60 million project.
Right.
That we don't have any federal money. We're supposed to
Now
front.
that's the Obamacare thing.
Right. We're supposed to front that money until
that
Obama decides that to give us a waiver.
Now that went through.
It went through without the waiver. There's no incentive for the federal government to give us the waiver. So but they put in a sunset clause that says if we don't get the waiver from the federal government.
I actually disagree with you. Because I think there is an incentive for the federal government to give us the waiver because they really want Gene Shaheen back in Washington, D.C. And if Gene Shaheen can, because it has got Obamacare written all over her, so if we're suffering too much from Obamacare, she has less likelihood that she's going to be reelected.
Remember, the expanded Medicaid to make Obamacare work and costly to the state of New Hampshire, it wasn't a Democrat incentive, it was the Republicans.
I'm saying, I know.
But what
But I'm saying the federal government is going to do whatever, under Obama, is going to do whatever they can
if
to
they
make sure
were going
Shaheen
to
gets
do
back
that,
in.
they would have done that, because how many times we played with it for a whole year in the state of New Hampshire?
Yeah.
And the answer was no. And one of the biggest problems the state of New Hampshire has is under the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, you had to have competition. The insurance commissioner in the state of New Hampshire decided that Anthem having 12 separate plans for you to choose from was competition.
Right.
Right.
Obama doesn't like that. That's one of the biggest problems the state of New Hampshire has. You didn't do it right to begin with.
Well, that's Shaheen's fault too, because she's the one who narrowed down the amount of actually carriers we have to begin with when she was governor, right?
No, that was Roger Savini allowing one insurance company to be the only person.
No, I'm saying way back, we used to have a lot of insurance companies.
No,
and I
we
thought-
had other insurance companies. Roger Savini decided we were just going to do business with Anthem
Okay.
for Obamacare.
Okay.
That's the problem. The other states that have added expanded Medicaid have all said we'll add it so long as you give us the guarantee that we get the money. New Hampshire's the only state that I know of that said, we're going to do it, and if you don't give us the money within 3 years, we're going to sunset it. Or 2 years. In 2015, it'll die.
Right.
What are you going to do with 50,000 people on that expanded Medicaid program when
In
you
2
say,
years.
government never gave us the money, we're shutting you off? All of these people are coming from insured positions now, and they're going into expanded Medicaid. There was some talk about the state of New Hampshire taking some of its lower paid people and putting them on the Medicaid system. Now remember, under this whole system, if you are already eligible to be on Medicaid, and we just found out about it, there's no 100% reimbursement from the federal government. You go on, that's a 50-50. You don't count towards 100%. if you were one of those people who made too much money and didn't qualify for the normal Medicaid, you qualify under expanded Medicaid, that's where the government's going to give you 100% supposedly, as long as you follow certain guidelines. So if you take some of the state workers
Right.
who were single family, single parent, making 35,000, a lot of them will qualify under the expanded Medicaid.
Right.
So the talk was, and I don't know how true it was, I'll call it rumor, was that the state would save $10 million to $20 million by taking some of those people, instead of self-insuring them, shoving them over onto Affordable Care Act or Obamacare, and having the government pick up 100% of their stuff.
Yeah.
Now, those are some of the people I'm talking about, that if all of a sudden you decide you're not going to fund this program you just instituted, companies are throwing them all in, what are you going to do with them?
Right. Yeah, it's not.
It'll never end.
No, it can't.
This is our problem now forever.
What was it Reagan said
Never-ending
about
story.
there's only two things that are assured is death and things that are live forever. No, have eternal life or something like that. One of them is government program. I
Oh,
forget.
okay.
Yeah.
Hey Damon, we only have a few
So-
minutes left. Do you
No.
want to do solo?
I said no.
Lolo?
I said no.
You're not gonna
I
do
already
it?
said no.
What a sissy.
Matt should do it.
Do what?
YOLO. Is
Yeah,
it YOLO?
do it. Yeah,
How's it-
Matt,
well,
do it. Do it.
Well, say what the words are so Matt have a chance.
No, he should just figure it out by himself.
I'm not very bright.
Oh,
And
well.
I'm too old. I don't know
Yeah.
what YOLO is.
I don't remember what it is either.
I know what it stands for. You only live once.
You only live once. Yes.
Actually, it stands for you're old.
Loser.
You're old.
Loser. Always.
We're out of time anyway, so.
Yeah,
You're
well,
old. wait, I gotta think of it. You're old. Living
yeah.
orca.
You're old living orca. Yes, all right, very good.
Okay. That's.
Well, we on that
On
note.
that note. So next week I get J.P. Marzolo.
And me.
That'll be a
I
good
don't
one.
know. You're gonna come back. You're not gonna sing. I don't know if we
Yeah.
we only want you for your talent.
We'll have to book a different musical guest. if
I
Zach is
have
in.
I have much more talent.
You know, your grandfather wants to start a new community auditions.
Well, he should stop. He shouldn't do it.
He doesn't know what the old community auditions is. So
He will eventually.
Don't do it.
don't do
I
it.
don't care what it is. Just don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah, don't.
Whatever you do, do
Don't
it.
do it.
All right, Senator. Thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you he's the only guest that says that,
I know,
right?
but how do we? Hopefully, he's sincere.
Well, he
They
is.
have to be. He owns the house next to me.
Oh, okay.
He's the one who bought my my mom's house.
Oh, I'll be damned.
And
Okay.
there's a firing range on his side of the line.
Yeah.
The only actual pleasure that
And his
being
house is the
here
backstop.
Yep.
the table. I like
gotta
the
be somewhere.
table. The
All right.
table is the only pleasure of being
Okay.
here.
Thank you, Mr. Hess, for being here and adding a certain amount of variety to the show. Thank you, Senator.
No
next,
problem.
Next week it's J.P. Marzolo who's going to try to run for Bob Odell's seat. That should be interesting.
Very
There's
good.
a lot of drama going on in that one.
Ooh, I
See you
love
next
political
week.
drama.
Oh,
Bye,
yes.
everybody.